Hey, you may remember us from 3 weeks ago. We were up here saying, please help us get to Fiji. Well, we got there and we got back. So that's good. And we had an amazing time over there. So today we're just going to start up our computers, which I hope I can remember the password. We're going to go through just a few slides from the trip. The trip was 2 weeks long. We were doing stuff all day, every day, so it's really hard to cram 2 weeks into 15 minutes. So we're going to fly through it pretty quick. But here's the team: Ben, Maggie, we've got Mel, Caleb, and Ben. Jasmine Korf isn't here this morning because she has to work. She used up all her annual leave to go on this missions trip, so she gave it all, so she can't be here today. But she'll be here tonight. We have an evening service on tonight. So if you're around, we have 7 o'clock here, Dusk in Eden, time of worship, and we're going to be talking again here, and Jasmine will be with us. So if you want to hear her story, then come along to that. So you guys can sit down for a minute. I will try and... going to do anything for this? There we go. So this is the whole team that went, about 30 of us in total. Can everyone see over my head? Yep. We have a team. There was a team from TBC just up the road to Tarangi. They sent a team of about 10. There was a team from Franklin Baptist out in Pukekohe. They sent another 8. And we all split up on different parts of the island. Franklin went south to an island called Kindavu. We went north to a place called Savu Savu. And Tarangi went to the interior. Nowhere near a beach for them, so yeah. So we flew into Nandi. We took a van all the way around to Suva. In Suva, we spent a day getting our official church gear, the right stuff, sulus and chambas for the girls. And so that was up at 5 o'clock in the morning, devotions, breakfast, packing, out the door by 8, Suva by 1, all day shopping and stuff on a boat by 6. It didn't take off till about 10. And then 10 o'clock at night, we were sailing away. And that's where we slept and how we slept, on the floor. So that was fun, on the boat doing this. That's where Mel slept. It was a bit windy that day, that morning when we woke up. And that's us arriving in Savu Savu, loading off the big ferry. That's the boat we took up there. It's like an inter-islander type ferry. Big, rusty, lots of fun. So we arrive in Savu Savu. Caleb has a special affiliation with this one particular place. And thank you for sending us to Savu Savu. This is where we wound up. One of the most picturesque places of Fiji I've ever been to. I've been to Fiji 7 times now. This is the most beautiful part of the country I've ever seen. What you're looking down on there is the harbour, and what you have is all the luxury super yachts, people buying their boats in America and sailing them back to Australia and New Zealand, and they stop off in Fiji, namely Savu Savu here, and there's cafes, bars, restaurants for the rich and famous to come and hang out at. So you'll be walking down the main street at any given time, you'll have a millionaire to one side of you and a local Fijian who doesn't have $10 in his pocket, and there's no animosity, there's no anger or hatred towards either way. They love each other, they embrace each other. It's a remarkable place. Took me 4 days to realize that there's no one begging on the streets in this town. This is the only town in Fiji where we couldn't find anyone begging or asking for money on the streets. So I started asking some of the locals about it, and like, what's the story here? And he's like, well, we just look after each other. Each village looks after their people perfectly. There were 2 what they called mentally disabled people that had found their way into Savu Savu, and every day they'd turn up with new clothes on. And it just villages would just keep taking them in, feeding them, housing them, giving them new clothes and sending them on their way until someone picked them up and just drove them back to their village and say, oh, are you missing these 2 people? And then they came back, and that was 2 years ago, and that was the story that they told us. So I was like, where's the begging, where's the poor people? Like, oh, well, 2 years ago we had that. It's an amazing place. So lots of luxury around. There's a few high-class resorts. Messay, the lady who, my mum, at the house we stayed at, she works at this resort, and the top villa there goes for $4,000 a night, and she gets paid $3 an hour. So trying to reconcile those two was a little hard. But this is the type of luxury that just rolls into Savu Savu. Coconut trees, palm trees everywhere. So this is the backdrop for our whole missions trip there. It was hot It was sunny every day. You didn't need to wear sunscreen. I'm quite palangi, and I didn't get burnt at all. They have an ozone layer, which is nice for them. That's not a volcano. That's just a really cool photo that I think Ben took or someone of the clouds forming over the mountains. But I see fire. And that's my house. That's where I stayed. We got photos of all the other houses, but I'm just going to focus on mine today. So that's Levi's house, where I stayed with him. That's the shower, which is basically just a hose that squirts brown river water at you. But if you look out the top corner, you can see the amazing thing about the shower is you have this amazing view every time you're showering. So you've got the freezing cold water, and then you've got the heat from the sun coming in. It's not a bad way to shower. There's the toilet. I'll come back to the toilet later on. It plays a key role in all my missions trips for some reason. And that's the outside kitchen where they do a lot of the cooking. They cook by fire, and what that means is they go out and they get firewood, and they come back and have to light a fire and get the coals and get the right temperature. That's how they make their teas, their coffees, dinner, breakfast, lunch, everything. So what we did over there, one of the things we did, they had us working with one of the local high school rugby teams. We were praying for them, giving them motivational speeches, going to church with them, being around them as much as we could. So we were with them lots. We did kids programs. We did more kids programs. We did more kids programs. Every day we seemed to be tied up in a kids program. We visited one church, and it was where our hosts went. So I was in one village, Narikoru, and Ben was it yours called? Nambaka. So the intention was we were going to go to our hosts' churches that day. We were going to all meet up at the big C3 church that afternoon. Those were the hosts of the whole trip. But we wanted to go to the individual churches with our families. And they took us to this AOG church. And we just rolled in. We didn't want to do anything. We just wanted to be like, you guys just go to church. And as soon as they saw us, they realized, okay, these guys are a little bit different, a little palangi. They must be missionaries. They worked out as a pastor. And then they got us to run the whole kids program. So they changed their whole church format just so we could come in and do something like that. They didn't know who we were at all. We could have been strange weirdos running around Savu. But they got us in to do it. We ran the kids program. I got to share a little bit during the church service. And then the pastor launched into an hour-long sermon in Fiji and just cranked through like almost every book of the New Testament. It was epic. I have no idea what he said, but he said it really well. So I was like, yeah. Wasn't there a lady making like whale noises or something? Yeah. Anyway, more kids programs. Too fast. My mother-in-law donated to us. She works for Colgate, and she donated to us this massive box of toothbrushes and toothpaste, which we distributed to the local kids there. 2 years ago, I was in a village, and the oral health care there was terrible. And so something I really wanted to try and impact into. And these kids were so excited. They were fighting over toothbrushes and stuff. It was a real blessing for them. We ended up doing a lot of medical stuff because a lot of the kids there had these massive open wounds, cuts, infections, and we just hang around with these kids all day and we just see, them bleeding, and they don't do anything about it. It's like, half my arm's falling off. That's all right. I'll just keep playing rugby. And so we had a little medical kit that we took with us, and we just thrashed that, trying to bandage up some of these kids. This kid had run into some corrugated iron months ago and just left it. I'm sure it was rusty corrugated iron too, but he's like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, so yeah, we did what we could there. We went pulling taro every day. That's our guide for the trip, Tyrone. And so we went up into this thick jungle. This is where my host goes every day. It's about a 30-minute walk each way, and it's not just up a road. It's you go off the path and you're up into this massive jungle, up these hills. If you've ever seen a Vietnam War movie, it feels and looks like that. Out you. That said outreach last time. When I put the Bible on the thing. Sorry, I put my Bible on the last one, obviously changed it. Anyway, it's supposed to say outreach. So we did outreach one night, and that's one of the millionaire guys. He's from Canada. He'd bought a yacht in San Diego, and he's just sailing it back to Tasmania. So, that sounds nice. What are you guys doing here? Oh, well, we're missionaries. So we got to hang out with them one night. That's the church we went to. It's not a multi-cultural multicultural church. It's a multiracial church, which we thought was cool. Well stated, it's clearly obvious from the outside of your building. And these are the families we stayed with. So this was Ben, Cameron, this is Caleb's Na and Ta. And that's Ben's, what's her name again? Kasa. That was Ben's mum. Lovely lady. She'll be here soon. Yeah. And that's us. Jasmine is the one taking the photo. But that's Lily, the other Fijian girl. She was with us, helping us to run kids programs. And so that's the team. We travelled by bus, by taxi, we walked everywhere, and sometimes we got to hop rides in the backs of utes like this. So any means we could, we got around like that. Then we were all done. It was back to Suva and then Nandi. The boat we came over on, while we were there, changed their shipping schedule, and the boat left the day before we were supposed to. We were out doing our last goodbyes and everything, and then we get a phone call from one of the local pastors saying, your boat sailed last night, by the way. Oh, that's cool. So we had to kind of scramble on board another boat. So it's quite lucky that we managed to do that. But a real blessing to be able to stay one more night. And I think God actually wanted us to stay one more night in Savu Savu. It was probably our most impacting night. So that's us again, conked out on another boat, sleeping on the floor. And that was me by the end of the trip. So I'm going to get the team up to share. So this is Melissa. So Melissa wore a skirt every day and it was lovely. So there we go.
Thanks for the welcome. One of my highlights were definitely the kids programs that we went to. The kids would just attach themselves to all of us, and they were just so much joy to be around, playing with them, bit of teaching, singing, a terrible skit that we tried to make up on the spot. But they were so much fun, and the photos are just a glimpse of the fun that we had with them. Something I kind of learned on the trip, or that was with me throughout my journey there. I went into the trip with a verse that I took to the team, Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, but pray about everything. By prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. So I took that verse with me. It was close to my heart, and we kind of took it on board as a team and learned it each day and kind of pulled it up for encouragement and that throughout the trip. And then we were at the C3 church on the Sunday, the main pastor's church, and it was a cool time of ministry in the church, and then all of a sudden the pastor just brings out that exact verse, and we're all just kind of a bit blown away. Like, he had no idea that it was with us throughout the journey. And then it came up again at one of Dan's morning devotions with his host. The host dad brought it up, and he didn't know either. And it was just like, wow, God, you're really present on this trip. You're really with us this whole way. And that's what I just found during the whole trip, with all the people, with all the things that we did each day. You could just really feel God's presence amongst them, their love for God, their joy just in normal life as well.
Yay. And, so Mel was the second in command, my number 2 for the trip. So if I went down for any reason, she was the one who was going to lead the team, and she did an exceptional job of that role. So she has a real call of leadership on her life. So Caleb. Yeah.
Hey guys. I wouldn't say I had a highlight as such for the Fiji trip, but one thing that questioned me as such, when we went to our families, I went to my family and my nanta, and as soon as the team left, after we were introduced and everything, straight away they just welcomed me in, and I was family straight away. They showed me their love, and they cared for me. Over a week and a half, I think it was, they would make breakfast for me. They would do my washing. Seriously, it was so cool. We ran out of milk powder one day, and we also ran out of water for the shower from our river or water supply. So on the last day, we had a little bit of water, and we had to just wash outside in this little it was like a concrete pond, sort of. so we had to like grab the bar of soap, wash ourselves down, and outside. So good fun. But the crazy thing was that each morning and throughout the whole day, they would pray about everything. They would give their day to God. They'd wake up at 4 o'clock every morning, their whole family. They'd wake up, they'd go sit in the lounge, and they would just pray. For like it was like a good solid hour each day as well. And I would get up for breakfast and have breakfast with them, and we'd have some cool conversations discussing what life was like in New Zealand and what life was like in Fiji. And the crazy thing is, like, each day they just live for God. Like, when we ran out of milk powder, they were just like, "No, it's all good. We'll just have it without." And, you know, God's going to look after us. We don't need milk powder. So stuff like that was really cool. Like, their faith in God. So, I had 2 verses that I was thinking about while I was over there. Sorry. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give and only suffers want. That's from Proverbs chapter 11, verse 24. And yeah, they didn't have much over there. And when we came, we're a lot more wealthier than them. They would still look after us, give us all they had. And that was really cool to see. And so my other verse was, it wasn't my verse, but this is our whole team's verse as well. For am I now seeking to win the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I was still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ.
Caleb and Ben got quite sick on the trip, and Caleb especially. And one morning, Monday morning actually, we wanted to try and take him to the hospital just to get him checked out. So we called up the taxi, no one answered. We called up another taxi, no one answered. And we're like, "What's going on?" "Oh, World Cup finals on." So the whole island stopped. So we're like, "Just hold on for 90 minutes, Caleb. We'll be fine." But after Germany won, Caleb pulled through. So yeah, well done, Ben.
Hey, one of the biggest highlights for me was probably the people and how friendly they were. It was amazing to see just like the first day, and we weren't even in Savu, we were in Nandi. And we're walking through the town, and everyone is so friendly and like constantly like welcoming us and saying hi. And it was like such a big shock to see that everyone was really friendly, because you go walk down like in the city, go down Queen Street and all that, and everyone's on their device or in their own world, and you would never make contact with like any other people except for yourself or your friends and all that. But yeah, that was really amazing to see how friendly everyone was. And people out in the world, people look upon Fiji like they have nothing. Society says they have nothing, but those 2 weeks I was in Fiji, they really had a whole heap of stuff. Like, they were just so spiritually like amazing, and like they'll just love you like unconditionally. And it was just such a shock to like have so many people just really friendly and welcoming. And yeah, that was a really big highlight. And one thing that I just couldn't get over, and there was this one night when Ben and Caleb were sick, and we were at the pastor's house, and there was a group of women inside praying for them, and there was all the kids were outside in a circle with a guitar singing and praising God. And me and my group, we were kind of like crazy that night, and we were just like in shock about how we see them having nothing, but yet they have so much spiritually, and they can just give that love and praise. And yeah, it was one thing that was just so amazing, and I just really couldn't get over. And it's made me want to start like reaching out, and especially around here, like just reach out to people and just show how much that we can love each other, and show how much we actually do care for each other. And yeah, it's made me want to contribute more to this community, and I think that's one of the greatest things that God has given me on this trip.
Ben? Yep. There's a... come on, look at mine. There's a video that runs behind Ben that's just supposed to illustrate the thing. But...
Kia ora, church. So one of the biggest things, if not like the top thing in my life right now, is that when I was on the trip, one thing that was made very clear to me was the faith that the Fijian people have for Christ. And there were so many examples, but there was one that was that really hit me. It was they do this daily routine. So they do devotions, and the whole family, they do devotions. But the kids in my house, at least, they decided to go exercise every morning at 5:30. They go for a walk or for a run. Doesn't matter really the distance until they feel like coming back. And this day they decided to go for a run into town, and me and Caleb decided to join them. Now running isn't my strong point, but I did it, and I was very happy that I did. And as we were coming back from town, we decided that we'd be like, hey, let's try catch a ride back home so we don't miss breakfast. And so as we were walking up the hill, this bus came by, and my little brother Sakio, he was like, okay, let's go, let's run. So we ran for this bus, and we were checking our money, checking our pockets as we were doing it. Like, oh, we have no money. I said, we have no money, we can't get on. And he turned to me, and he looked me in the eye, and he said, just have faith that God will provide. And it didn't faze him. He kept running for this bus and managed to stop when we got on. But from that point on till now, it's still in the back of my head that I didn't have enough faith in God to provide a bus ride back home. And each day it hits me, and each day God reminds me, and each day I trust Him even more and more each day. So, yeah.
Top, bro. Maggie. Yay, come on up. Again, there's a movie that runs behind Maggie, so.
So one of my highlights was when we were in Savu Savu. We visited some villages, and there were lots of kids there with really bad cuts and infections. And so we did a little bit of nursing on them. This girl here, Beatrice, she had a big cut on the inside of her arm, and it was all infected. You could see the infection going up through the veins up towards the chest. And we did what we could. We cleaned it up, we dressed it, put some cream on it, and then we prayed for it. And a couple of days later, we saw her again, had a look, and all the infection was cleared up. And we're like, that's pretty awesome, because a little bit of cream couldn't have done that. Just really know that God can heal. And yeah, that was my highlight.
So you can kind of see there, you can see the red that's following her vein all the way up. And this thing was really bad infected. She fell over on some gravel, and there was still rocks and stuff in there. And she thought she was in trouble when we were cleaning her up. That's why she looked so sad. But yeah, Maggie, I believe God blessed Maggie with a spiritual gift of healing. Mel over there as well received a spiritual gift of tongues. I think Ben received a spiritual gift of faith. So we were getting spiritually impacted throughout the whole trip. I'll check this video up on somewhere so you can just see what we did, how we just poked around the earth sort of thing. Sorry, Beatrix. Jazz. Now, Jazz isn't here, but this kind of sums up Jazz's trip for you. I'll just kind of narrate what's going on. If you can't tell what's going on, then you haven't been in Baptist churches long enough. But we had a day where our plans had been cancelled on us, as it happens in Fiji on a regular basis. So they said, oh, you guys should go to this beach. It's a really nice beach. Of course, it's middle of winter for them. It's hot for us, but they're freezing. And just felt the Holy Spirit say, look, Dan, go ask Jasmine if she wants to get baptised. And I went up to her and she said, yeah, I felt the same thing. And she agreed to get baptised then and there. And then we did this. A little too long. And yeah, we baptised Jasmine. So there we go. Yeah. That's 2 out of 2 Corf girls. Not a bad set. Now, when you're praying for someone, don't pray for them like I do, which is a little vicious because waves come in and she's a bit shorter than I am and we nearly drowned her a few times. But that's all right. To live is Christ and to die is gain. That's what I was saying to her right then. And she's baptised and off you go. So we go. Just cranking out those baptisms. So Jasmine had a wonderful trip, and so that was her. And for me, my biggest experience. This is bad. That's the toilet and shower that I referred to earlier. Big part of my missions trip, and the thing that amazed me about it the most is that nail there. And I'm not sure if I close this. I shouldn't have closed it. Come back. So that nail there. That nail there is the nail that keeps the toilet door shut. And while you're on the outside. Not so much while you're on the inside. But I just want to read a passage to you. So if you've got your Bibles, it's Mark 12. And I'm going to cut it in half just for time. Neil's gone, so I can probably go longer. The pastor's gone. We can do whatever we want. Let's go crazy. It's Mark 12. Yeah, you know what? I will do both. So we're going to read from 38. So coming back from the trip, I'm just reading through Mark, preparing for all the youth stuff coming up. And I've read Mark a dozen times. It's good because it's a short one. You can read it in one sitting. It's amazing. And I've flown past these verses time and time again and never really thought anything of it. But here's two that I really want to share with you guys because they jumped out of Scripture at me. These things really grabbed me. Post-missions trip, the meaning behind these two verses absolutely changed. And I just want to share these with you. So reading from Mark 12:38, he also said, so Jesus also said in his teaching, beware of scribes who go around in long robes and who want want greetings in the marketplaces and who want the front seats in the synagogues and who want the most honorable places in the banquets. They devour widows' houses. They say long prayers just for show. They will receive a harsher punishment. In Fiji, I went a few years ago with a pastor from Franklin Baptist. Now he's about the same size as Ben Laycock. Ben's still growing, so we still have high hopes for Ben. But in Fiji, I'm still growing too, which is sad. In Fiji, there is this thing they have there, and it's all about your physical stature. So I went a few years ago, and the pastor I went with, I wasn't a pastor, I was still at Bible college. I was just a little intern, nothing. And so I'm this size, and he was down here. And everywhere we went, they called me Ratu, they called me the chief. And so they keep trying to put me up front. They keep trying to say, you speak, you do the prayer. I was like, no, this guy's the pastor. And they're like, no, you do. It was so awkward. It was so culturally wrong for me because here I am overstepping the guy who's leading the trip, the real pastor at that time. And here I was, just because of my size, being pulled out. Over there, this trip, I was the big guy, which is great. And I was the pastor. So I was the Ratu and the Talatala. And because of that, I often got asked to sit in the front seat. You sit up the front. We're meeting with the chief. You sit next to the chief. We're having dinner. You eat first. It was all about me. For the first few days, I kind of thought, I don't like this, but then I kind of adopted it and ran with it. It was great. And how they treat their pastors over there, they're literally on a different level. They're the highest people in society. As soon as people work out that you're a talatala, that you're a pastor, it's everything. They just give you everything, which in itself isn't too bad. But then I sat down at Ben's house, and his dad was a Catholic Ratu. He was a chief of one of the villages, and I'm just in there talking with Ben one day. I'm sitting down on the floor, and he's talking about how Christ is the head. And I was like, yes, that's true. And as the pastor, I am the hand, and everyone has to do what the hand says, and you strike the people, and you do these things with the hand. And so I'm sitting there going, yeah, but also, didn't Christ come to serve? And the guy's like, no, he came to lead, and he's the head. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't want to thrash it out with him then, but being over there and being thrown into this experience, because I'll be honest with you, around Auckland and around most of my secular non-Christian mates, being a pastor doesn't really elevate you anywhere. To them, it's actually dropped me down a few rungs on the what's Daniel doing, silly boy. And so it's a little hard to run around here. It's a little hard to run around Glen Eden. Got to Glenmore Shops. I'm Pastor Dan, as you introduce yourself, and They just look at you funny and probably charge you more. So it's a little hard to get a big head here. It's a little hard to try and wiggle yourself into the place, especially what Jesus is talking about here. These Pharisees, these scribes, these teachers of the law, who demand greetings at marketplaces, who demand the honourable seats in the churches and synagogues, and then they devour widows' houses, meaning that they soak up all the money that is around. So 2 verses that I just want to put out to you. This is a Baptist church, and because this is a Baptist church, we, as Baptists, which you all are, by the way, we affirm this doctrine called the priesthood of all believers. And it goes like this: as you come to him, as you come to Jesus, the living stone rejected by men, but in the sight of God, chosen and precious, you yourselves, each one of you, like living stones, are being built up as a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood. Every single one of you is to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. Meaning that, yes, I am a pastor. I went to Bible college and they gave me this bit of paper saying, today you're a pastor. That's great, but I don't have any more spiritual gifts or spiritual abilities than anyone else in this room. I get employed by you guys to help lead, guide and direct, but I'm not paid by you guys to have more spirituality than anyone else. We are a priesthood of all believers. Something that got highlighted to me on this trip, because they said, no, it's just the pastors that have this thing. I'm like, no, we should be at the bottom. Okay, we should be lifting you guys up, and you guys should be out there doing the spiritual work. Okay? The flip side of that is that somehow, for some of you, this verse might pinch a few of you just a little bit. And I'm starting to wonder, could piety be finding its way into this church? I've come from other churches around Auckland, and on the piety scale, I've seen some pretty bad examples of really pious people. Generally, the richer people tend to be slightly more pious. But here, it's quite low. I've got to be quite honest with you. If there is any piety here, it is low, but it's not zero. So if this verse is talking to you guys about piety, then I just want to put this before you guys and let you guys discern for yourselves if this verse is speaking to you, because it is a danger. It is not great for the pastors to be elevated up so high. We should be striving to be down the very bottom. As it turns out, I'm a youth pastor, and amongst pastors, we are at the very bottom. So I am very lucky. So we'll just move on back to the nail there. I just want to read one more verse. So these 2 verses roll on from another, and Jesus, by the way, is being schooled by Pharisees. One question after another, they're trying to trap him, trying to trick him, and he just says, look, these Pharisees aren't the way. Then he says, sitting across from the temple treasury, he watched a crowd dropping money into the treasury. Many rich people were putting in large sums. A poor widow came and dropped 2 tiny coins worth very little. Now, if you've got your Greek lexicons with you, which you all do, because we're a Baptist church, you'll know that the Greek word there is lepta. I think someone in the congregation is going to correct me on my pronunciation. What it is, there's 2 people here, we're going to do it. What that means is it's 1/64th of a denarii, which is a day's wage. Say the average wage in New Zealand is $100 a day, take away your tax, brings it down by heaps. That's about $1.50, okay? She gave about $1.50 into the offering there. And Jesus says to her, summoning his disciples to him, he says, I assure you, the poor widow has put in more than all those giving to the temple treasury. For they gave out of their surplus, but she gave out of her poverty everything she possesses, all she had to live on, she gave. I've heard this sermon preached, or this verse preached in many sermons about how to give more, you should be tithing more, all this kind of stuff, and they bring it back to the value of what was given. Coming out of Fiji, here is a man whose house, his toilet door, is closed by a bent nail. I'm sitting there day after day in this toilet and looking around going, what can I do to help this man's life? Oh, I could put locks on all his doors, I could straighten up this, I could straighten up his floorboards, I could put up this, that, and other thing. There's tons of work that you could do in this guy's house. I mean, the floor's wobbly, there's holes everywhere. And I'm thinking to myself, I could do all this. And then one day he pulls out a hammer. He's got a wobbly step. He just gets a nail, puts a nail in it. No, step's fixed. Back he goes about his life. And I realised for a minute, this guy could put a lock on a door anytime he wants. He could build better things for himself. He could do these things for himself. And I'm thinking, what's the biggest priority for this guy? And it's not how many locks are on his toilet door or front door or back door, wherever he even has a back door. I'm not even sure, thinking back, that he actually had a back door. I'm thinking, what's most important to him? Because it's not the size of his TV, it's not the colour of his house or the type of carpet and the kind of car he drives. None of these things are important to him. And so I'm sitting, I'm praying, and I'm waiting, I'm thinking, what is most important to this guy? And it's God. God is the most important thing in this guy's life, followed closely by his family, but everything else was of equal nothing to him. I need to keep my toilet door shut. I'll just put a nail in and bend it. That way I can go back to serving God and giving all I have to God. His son, Levi Jr., was getting dressed up for school one day, and he wanted to dress up as a bank manager, because the bank managers have money. And he's like, I'll dress up as a bank manager. So he had his little tie on and his little dress Sulu when he went off to school that day. And I was like, oh, hang on. I had some coins in my pocket. And I said, if you're going to be a bank manager, you've got to have some money. So I just dropped a handful of coins into his pocket. $2 or $3, I can't even remember. And he was so happy, so grateful. But straight away, he grabbed half of it and he put it on a shelf. All right, and I found out later on that was his tithe. The second he had any money, he put it on the shelf to take to church that day. And he took the rest of his $1.50 maybe, and that was him to show off at school, I've got a $1.50, which turns out he could have bought like the whole shop full of lollies. But that's how they live their life, and that's how he lives his life. And coming back to this verse, this lady gave all that she had. Okay? It's not about how much she gave. Jesus wasn't concerned that she gave $1.50 where others were giving in the hundreds. He doesn't pick up on that point. He picks up the point that this lady gave everything she had into her faith. She gave everything she had into her church because she loved God. She didn't go back home and worry about what she was going to eat or what she was going to do. Her friends and family probably would have supported her. Okay, she was a widow. She didn't have a husband to provide for her. She went back and she lived by faith. And Jesus said, that's the one. That's the way to do it. That's how we live. And he looked at the people who were giving tons of money, saying they gave out of their surplus, and that's not how they live. That's not how Jesus calls us to live. So for me, having seen these youth up here, I've been at this church a year and a half now, and trying to get youth to come up here in front of church and speak is hard. Trying to get them to do it in front of youth group is harder. For some reason, just won't do it. But we've just seen youth after youth after youth telling you guys about how much they love God, how much they have been changed by a simple 2 weeks. All up, we fundraised about $8,000. About 5 came from the church. The rest came from us. The total price is $14,000 to see 7 people gone for 2 weeks, coming back completely on fire. I don't know what dollar value we can put on that. But I can guarantee that this church is going to send out missionaries every single year. Okay, we're going back to Fiji next year to see Nathan, not me, the real Nathan. Where are you? We're looking at Cambodia. We're looking at South America. We're looking at getting youth, teens, and some of you adults too, if you think you can keep up, off to places, far out places, to really change what we do. These guys coming back are not just going to be satisfied with the status quo that we have going in youth, with the status quo we have in our lives. There is something called a holy discontent. There's something wrong with this world. All of us now have it, okay? And we had to go outside of our world to find it. We're going to continue to do this. So we'd love your prayers, we'd love your support, we'd love you to get behind us, but this is something that we need to do as a church. We have the greatest, probably New Zealand-wide, local church-based community thing. Sorry, I just called you a thing. Sorry, Vision West. I've never seen a church do local community better. And you could probably easily scale where every other church is with that, and we've got to be miles ahead. But where there's greater boundaries in that, mission, international and local, we've got to get behind it because this stuff does change lives. So that's me. I'll invite some other pastor to close up because that's kind of what we do. So, yeah, thank you very much. Oh, and just before we go, just to sum up our trip, I think this sums it up for us. So, just we'll leave you with this. And it should play by itself, but it doesn't. So thank you.